Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Samvaad, the annual media conclave by Syndicon, the PR Media Committee of MDI Murshidabad. With a vision of creating a stage for interaction that would lead to holistic development, Samvaad was created. Unfortunately, we are not able to have an offline panel discussion in this event, but that didn't stop us from carrying forward the legacy. So we, the members of PR and Media Committee, are here with Samvaad. This year, it is a one-day event which would provide a forum for deliberation and exchange of ideas amongst the reputed representatives and media practitioners. Now, quick question. How many of us woke up today in the morning saying, I so wish to see an advertisement now? Probably none. But then marketing departments come to work and say, let's make another advertisement. And eventually we are bombarded with a variety of ads. So the question then arises, is the internet becoming a giant advertising billboard that is suffocating its users? Stay tuned to be a part of an upcoming engaging panel discussion by the most notable industry stalwarts. Before we let the Samvaad begin, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our Honorable Director, Sir, Professor Dr. Atmanand, who is working as the Director, Additional Charge of MDI Gurgaon and also the Director of our college, MDI Murshidabad. He's also working as the Independent Director on the Board of Central Bank of India. Earlier, he worked as the Independent Director on the Board of Steel Authority of India Limited and PTC India Limited. In MDI Gurgaon, Professor Atmanand has worked as Founder Dean of the prestigious MDI School of Energy Management. He was also the Dean of Executive Postgraduate Programs and School of Public Policy and Governance. He was the Founder Dean of MDI Murshidabad. He has been teaching and doing research and consultancy in the area of energy and economics for the last 32 years. He has been associated with MDI fraternity for the last 22 years now. Besides MA and MPhil in economics, he's also a PhD in economics. He had the opportunity to act as in-charge acting director in MDI Gurgaon. Dr. Atmanand is a great leader, deep researcher, professor, and writer. He has authored 16 books and published more than 90 research papers in refereed national and international journals. He has undertaken several consulting assignments in the area of energy, insurance, infrastructure projects, and many more. In MDI, he teaches the participants of postgraduate level and MDPs. He was the PhD examiner, guided around 30 theses. Earlier, he was the independent director of the Board of SAIL. He was the chairman of Audit Committee of SAIL Board. He is the recipient of prestigious Rashtriya Gaurav Award for the excellence and contribution in the nation building. He has the honor of receiving the Indian Achiever Award for Corporate Leadership 2010 and Economic Development Award for Excellence in Higher Education 2010. Earlier, he was honored with the Exemplary Global Leadership Award 2010. We are privileged to have you with us, sir. Over to you, Director, sir. Kindly inaugurate the event with your valuable words and blessings.
Thank you very much, Roshni, for your kind words. Good morning and warm welcome to one and all present here. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the second edition of Samvaad, the annual media conclave of MDI Murshidabad. I would like to express my appreciation to all of you present here for being a part of this noble initiative taken by the team Syndicon and PR Media Committee of MDIM. I am extremely honored to welcome great minds like Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar, Head Corporate Affairs, Communication and Digital Media at Aegis India Consulting Engineers Private Limited, Mr. Sameer Kapoor, Director at Ad Factors PR, Dr. Anvita Prabhakara, Vice President Marketing Strategy and Business Growth Consulting, Manu Malhotra, Manager Advertising Cloud EMEA at Adobe. Warm welcome to all of you. Furthering an association with people of your eminence would help escalate the thirst for learning among the students and would help them get inspired to be visionary leaders of tomorrow and contribute something for this society's welfare. In a short span of time since its inception in 2014, MDIM has established itself as a brand by achieving excellence in various spheres. We were awarded A double star at national level and A triple star at state level by CRISIL in the year 2020. MDIM has been felicitated with the prestigious Business World Top Education Brands Award 2020 in the category of Excellence and Innovation in Management. And this also marked the entry of MDIM into the elite club of Business World Top Education Brands. NHRDN ranked MDIM as #1 in the category of Emerging Business Schools in India in the year 2019. We also became a member of the prestigious Association of Management Development Institution in South Asia, MDISA, starting April 2019. We have taken various initiatives at MDIM during pandemic time, like online certificate courses launched, webinar talk series initiated, online workshops, online corporate talks, online international conferences, and now Samvaad. MDIM creates change masters and thought leaders. MDIM students are a class apart. To propel a continuous learning ambience, student-driven activities are a must. Apart from academics, students learn how to work as a team, how to work under constraints, how to manage their time, how to establish work-life balance, how to develop new skill sets, how to develop a strong mindset. These 2 years are indeed the best training ground for our students. Best of luck, students, for now and always in your future. Samvaad intends to create a platform where go-getters from the media, advertising, film, academics, and business arena can come together under one roof and initiate a dialogue with the budding leaders aiming at a cognitive enrichment for all. I always believe that success will definitely impress people who are thinkers and doers in one person. Together we can, and no pandemic can stop MDIM from knowledge sharing. We believe in the policy of connect, nurture, and grow, CNG. And today's event is one such example of CNG. I would like to draw your attention while concluding my inaugural address to the last sloka of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And the last sloka of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a source of inspiration for all of us as to how to move forward despite various constraints, how to maximize the benefits under given constraints, environmental, economic, corporate, whatever policy, whatever it is. It is a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjun during the Mahabharata. However, the last sloka was uttered by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra when the war was over. And then Dhritarashtra asked a question that, Sanjay, I believe that Duryodhan and the Kauravas must have become the victorious. Sanjay told, no, Pandavas are the winners. And it was decided at that day when Lord Krishna decided to join with Pandavas. And therefore, this is a famous shloka which inspires all of us to become a great minds and move forward. And that is, Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanur Dharaha, Tatra Shri Vijayor Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Mam. Wherever there is a leader like Krishna, and I hope all of you are leaders, and performers like Arjun, all the students, the victory, prosperity, and happiness are bound to be there. There is no doubt about it. You know that the first word of Bhagavad Gita is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. And the last word of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is Mam. which I have just now said, mum. So if you add the last word with the first word, the sentence that becomes is mama dharma. So the essence of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is mama dharma, our responsibility towards ourselves, towards family, towards the society, towards the organizations, towards the nation, towards the universe, and to the Lord of and to the good lords of the universe. So, dear young minds, take this opportunity and associate with the scholars, learn from them, ask questions from them, and expand your cognitive boundaries by exchanging knowledge. And good luck.
Thank you so much, Director Sir, for your inspiring words. It is an honor to have you with us at this event. Now I'll introduce our moderator for the event, Professor Dr. Yukti Sharma. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Yukti Sharma, an assistant professor in the area of marketing at our college MDI Murshidabad. Prior to joining MDIM, Dr. Sharma has also worked at University of Delhi and SP Jain Institute of Management Research. She did her postdoctoral research fellowship in marketing from IIM Calcutta. She did her doctoral studies in marketing at Subsistence Marketplace. Her research interest lies at the nexus of marketing, developmental research and information system. Especially her interests include subsistence marketplace, critical marketing, luxury brand marketing, and advertising, digital marketing, and information and communication technology for development. She has contributed several research articles in journals of international repute. Now, Bipasha will introduce the guest. Over to you, Bipasha.
Thank you, Roshni. So without further ado, we'll come to our speakers. So for the first speaker, um, um, very good morning to everyone. Currently, Head of Corporate Affairs for Communication and Digital at Aegis India, Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar, is a communication professional with more than 2 decades of experience in corporate communication, crisis communication, issue management, public policy, strategy planning, brand building, collateral development, CSR, digital and social media outreach, and content creation. Previously, Mr. Majumdar has worked for Reliance Industries, ESPN Star Sports, Genesis PR, Vaishnavi Corporate Communications, APCO Worldwide, and AdFactors PR. He is also a member at forums like Asia Pacific Association of Communication Directors, Public Relation Consultants Association of India, Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Consulting Engineers Association of India, and European Business Group. He regularly contributes articles in websites and blogs like adgully.com, exchangeformedia.com, reputationtoday.com, agencyreporter.com, PRPOI blog, and Aegis blog, to name a few. He is a guest lecturer in Delhi School of Communication and also participates in various guest panels and podcasts. We at MDI Murshidabad are privileged and delighted to invite Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar as part of the esteemed panel at Samvaad. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Now, coming to our second panelist, Mr. Sameer Kapoor is a communication professional with over 25 years of experience. He has worked across large spectrum of clients ranging from Indian conglomerates to startups. He is currently on board of director with AdFactors PR, India's largest PR agency. He has 2 PhDs, one in international relations and public affairs from University of Azteca, and the other in M.A. from Aligarh Muslim University. He started his career as an engineer and then meandered into the field of communication. He is a visiting faculty to some of the leading management and mass comm institutions of the country. He is a media trainer and a coach, having trained CXOs and SBU heads of various companies that he is consulting. He has also written a book titled When India Votes that has been rated as one of the top sellers last year by Amazon in political marketing and campaigning. We are glad to have you, sir. Welcome to the panel. Coming to our next panelist, Dr. Anvita Prabhakara, with her nearly 2 decades of cross-industry expertise, has worked with Fortune 100 MNCs such as Castrol India, Aditya Birla, and Z Networks. She is also an internationally certified third-degree black belt in combat arts, training since the last 13 years. A business leader known in the industry as a crisis turnarounder, Dr. Anvita has seamlessly worked with the budgets of both 400 crores in MNCs and also with zero budgets in startups, leading to quadruple businesses and accolades for her organizations. Dr. Anvita is the recipient of multiple global and national business awards, with prominent ones being AMEA Asia Pacific Awards, PMEA Asia, WOW Industry Awards, International Awards for Marketing Excellence. She is currently helping businesses rise to their potential best with marketing, operations, digital upscaling, training, and business growth in the capacity of founder and CEO, Dr. Anvita Prabhakara Business Consulting. A software engineer, an MBA, and a doctorate from Trinity, UK, Dr. Anvita is on board of multiple mentorship programs. As a senior industry resource, she is invited all over as speaker and panelist at several prestigious marketing and business conclaves at the IITs and the IIMs. We are very happy to have you, ma'am, and we are delighted to have you as an esteemed panel at Samvaad 2021. And for the fourth and the final panelist, we have Mr. Manu Manotra. Mr. Manu Manotra is a global marketing leader, speaker, mentor, and visiting faculty. He's passionate about marketing, leadership, and fitness. In his current role at Adobe, he leads digital advertising services for European, Middle East, and Asia Pacific customers by leveraging AI-powered marketing, analytics, and data platforms. As a passionate leader, he loves discussing business opportunities and technology-led internet marketing disruptions. He's a visiting faculty and a distinguished speaker in marketing conferences held in reputed institutes like ISB, Soil Gurgaon, IIM Kashipur, IIFT, Great Lakes Institute of Management, Jaipuria Institute of Management, among many others. He enjoys helping startups on digital marketing and shares knowledge and experience with young, bright minds. He often blogs in LinkedIn and blogs adobe.com. As a mentor to some very bright students from across top MBA institutes in India, he finds great joy in helping young students make right decisions and career choices. He's associated with CR chapters of Adobe and can support for the last 3 years. We are at MDI Murshidabad and privileged and delighted to invite Mr. Manu Manotra as the esteemed panel at Samvaad 2021. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
So welcome to all the panelists. Now over to you, Yukti ma'am.
Thank you very much, Bipasha and Roshni, for such a wonderful introduction at the outset. A very good morning to our respected director, sir, esteemed panel members, faculty colleagues, and dear students. So I, Dr. Yukti Sharma, on the behalf of MDIM family, would like to extend warm welcome to this enriching panel discussion. It gives me immense pleasure to moderate this panel session with such esteemed panel members. Before we start, let me give a brief backdrop of what is stored ahead in today's panel discussion. And what are we talking about? Just understanding the intricacies involved. So, all of you must agree when I state that we are currently riding the wave of most dynamic change in human history, the fourth industrial revolution. Undoubtedly, in the times of proliferating technologies, this fourth industrial revolution is fueled by multiplying digital technologies such as AI, AR, VR, cloud computing, and together it has brought digital transformation. We are leveraging digital technology to almost all the aspects of our life, particularly in the media sector, if we say. So media advertising has transformed. And for media advertising, digital technology and digital transformation, it implies much more than sheer change in the picture quality or picture resolution. Rather, it covers a holistic view, ushering us into the new era of digital advertising. Call it online advertising,
internet advertising, interactive advertising, or simply digital advertising. One thing is for sure, that it has made the dream of advertiser a reality of reaching out customer anytime, anywhere. Thanks to mobile-based communication devices, as customers carry their mobile phones to almost everywhere. The ubiquity of mobile phones creates a new opportunity for advertisers and marketers. In order to build a relationship, receive response directly from the customers. In other words, it has actually induced what was much deprived, in particular in the previous media platform, that was dialogic communication. With these unique capabilities, digital advertising has become a quite popular and obvious choice for the advertiser. Don't believe me? Let me quote some facts to substantiate my claim. So, according to the Statista, global digital ad spending will reach about $389 billion in 2021, and it is expected to rise by 17% in 2021. And one more interesting fact, for the first time, digital advertising budget in United States will surpass traditional advertising, which include television advertising as well, according to eMarketer 2019. To cut the long story short, this implies digital advertising will account for roughly half of the global advertising market. Huge market potential, isn't it? With incentives like these, digital advertising is gaining immense popularity in the recent past, making it a go-to advertising strategy among advertisers. Now, these facts give only a partial picture, unfortunately, as we are seeing the digital marketing and digital advertising from the marketeer's perspective and marketeer's lens. Let's hear the story from the other end, from the customer's perspective, because those are equally important. So for them, anecdotes like 30 seconds advertisement preceding 10-second YouTube video is a reality. Movies on television air for increment of 10 minutes until they are bombarded with commercial for drugs and laundry detergent. And even most of us, as actually said by Roshni, that most of us do not plan to wake up in morning with an idea to see advertisement and notification that we have missed while we were asleep. So these are the few problems to recount, rather a new normal of new life in digital era. And I'm sure, like many of us wants to invigorate this perspective on customers further. Who can be better than our esteemed panel for today? Who can shed light on the matter? Who have been working with digital marketing and advertising throughout their careers and are well poised to predict what significant issues the digital advertising spheres will likely to encounter. Let's hear from them and invigorate further on the problem: is the internet becoming giant advertising billboard that is suffocating the customers? Let's start from our first panelist for the day, Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar. I extend a warm welcome to you, Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar, and invite you to share your invaluable deliberation on the same.
Thanks. See, marketing or any kind of communication or any kind of campaign, it used to be very different 5 years back. And especially now with the post-COVID era or during the COVID era, it has changed completely. Now, traditional media, it has not lost its relevance, but digital marketing or digital communication has become more relevant than, traditional. And I completely agree. Earlier, whenever there used to be any kind of ad buying, it used to be more of human dealing. Now with digital marketing, it has become more sophisticated, automated thing in which, sometimes the ads or the spots are, hammered multiple times. It becomes a bit difficult for the consumers to consume that. But having said that, things are getting changed. In recent time, I've seen, multiple brands which are getting into microblogging, which is targeting not only to a particular city, it's targeting to a particular place, targeting to specific target audience. So I'm sure that things will change, but for the time being, I think digital marketing is getting more into your comfort zone. So in years to come, and I'm sure that with COVID things have changed, and maybe another 1 year's time things will change further.
Thank you so much for such like wonderful observations. Now I'll move to our second panel member of today, Mr. Sameer Kapoor, Director at Ad Factor PR. I extend a warm welcome to you, Mr. Sameer Kapoor, and would like to invite you to share your invaluable insight on today's topic for discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. So I agree with what Bhaskar has to say. What has happened over the period of time is that digital technology and hyperconnectivity has changed. Not only it's in favor of marketers, yes, like Bhaskar said, I can do pinpoint accuracy. I don't have to waste monies on the advertising, but it is also it has a it's a two-way thing. It cuts both ways. So from a consumer perspective also, the consumers are facing a huge amount of difficulty in this entire space. The one of the students who was introducing, he said that you don't want to wake up and see an ad, or which ad have you missed. But what has happened during this COVID time, and as we call it in finance, a black swan moment, which happens, let's say, once in a decade, this has happened once in a century, the COVID-19 thing. So it is transforming consumers' life. We have covered, decades in days, by which I mean, we were expecting as marketeers, things will change in digital by 2025. But the numbers that we were expecting to come in 2025 has actually happened in 2020. One of the reasons is, of course, COVID has been responsible for it. And behavior changes and their stickiness is not linear. McKinsey came out with a new consumer decision journey called CDJ in 2009, which at that time for us, for people who were both from academic as well as from this side, we thought it's a little far-fetched. But by 2020, it has become a reality. So hyperconnectivity is something that is going to stay. Consumers' overall attention span is going to be less than that of an 8-second. That is going to stay. What has happened in this new era is that this entire thing, the digital technology, has changed the way marketers look at it. Earlier, we used to segment the market, target the market, position our thought process, but it has gone away from these vertical, exclusive, and individual led to more like a horizontal, inclusive, and social. And just to answer your question, Dr. Sharma, even consumers are now getting empowered. You spoke about YouTube and a 30-second ad. You can actually pay money, so that you can watch the kind of stuff that you want to watch on YouTube, and YouTube will not charge you anything for an ad that is there. The rise of the OTT platforms is also an indication that people are shunning away from the general entertainment channels, where they are bombarded with the 50-50 kind of ad and content, and they can look at their content and they pay for it. So there is a new form that is coming, and one of the biggest things that we as advertisers fear is the ad blockers, because we don't want to get our ad being blocked. But yes, there are other ways of making sure that I reach out to the customer. We'll discuss this during the course of the discussion. That was my opening comment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kapoor. Such nice, invaluable insights on this. Let's move to our next panelist of the day, Dr. Anvita Prabhakara. I extend a warm welcome to you, Dr. Anvita, and now I would actually invite you to share your invaluable insight on this topic. Dr. Anvita, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, and thank you, Team MDI. And I'm very happy to be here. I think there's not much that I can add compared to what between what Mr. Majumdar and Mr. Sameer have actually, kind of elaborated right now. But I think there are the very question, the very discussion of our topic, which is the internet has become, it's become suffocating to our users. That's a very interesting question in a very interesting time right now, because if anything, the pandemic has only made digital an even more imperative medium. People who weren't on the digital space and who were absolutely, and by people I mean business and companies and organizations who weren't in the digital space, are all over the internet right now, and that is the way forward. So much as we much as we want to talk about how suffocating it is, there are advantages and disadvantages of the entire animal or country called internet. It's almost like a country that the internet that has been established across the decades. The only problem is governance. The only problem is an authority to kind of, put things in perspective. What's okay, what's not okay. I heard somewhere, or I think we were discussing the other day, that the internet is at best a distraction or a destruction. If you look at a lot of wars and a lot of ISIS and things like that, being a lot of youths that are going in the direction of violence. So that's on one end of the spectrum, and the other end of the spectrum is where it's very empowering, where people from the rural villages, children from everywhere across the world, even in probably poverty-stricken areas, countries like Africa, are going ahead and getting opportunities across the world. So it's destruction or distraction at one end, and it's empowerment on the other end. Now it's up to us, and by us I mean there are multiple stakeholders in this, to decide whether and how much it should be enabling or suffocating. And I think that's something that we are here to discuss for today.
Thank you so much for the. My voice is echoing, or is it?
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay. Thank you so much for the opening note. Thanks a lot, Dr. Anvita. Now, moving to the last panelist of the day, Mr. Manu Malhotra. I extend a warm welcome to you, Mr. Manu Malhotra, and now I would like to invite you to share your insight on the topic.
Thanks, Dr. Yukti, and I so resonate with the interesting perspectives that Bhaskar you've shared, and interesting spectrum extremes that Anvita you've just touched upon, and I think in the course of time we will discuss more of those. Also, I resonate with empowerment side that Samir talked about. Let me share a completely different perspective. On one end, for advertisers, for brands, what has emerged in last, probably, we have come a long way, right? Web 1.0 to 2.0 to where we are today. What has emerged for advertisers is, with digital, the kind of data that is being collected today in last 5 to 7 years, we always dreamt of it 10 years back, right? For advertisers, or for the brands today, the kind of information that I potentially can have, and I'm actually using can have, because the real truth is I don't know what to do with that data, right? As brands today, and that's why I end up suffocating users at times. So let me be on the advertiser side first and give you that story that today I have the ability as a brand, as an advertiser, to not suffocate the user. Am I able to do it is the question. Now let me come to the consumer side, right? Who I'm targeting, who I have to actually serve. If you look at them, today consumer has got a voice. Yesterday there was a billboard, I had to see it and I have to walk past it. But that's not the same today, right? I have a choice. I can skip the ad, which will tell you, Dr. Yukti, if you are a brand, that consumers are not liking it. They're skipping it. I have been empowered, right? Plus, somebody touched upon ad blockers. I mean, that's on the rise. You touched upon US digital advertising spend. Let me give you a perspective. Close to 40% of global digital ad spend is in US. With more than what you would say 300 million active internet users, you would have 25% of them starting to use ad blockers. So, I mean, can I do the job? Yes, I can. Am I doing it correctly right now? No, I am not. And that's why I end up suffocating a segment of users. But where's the silver line? Yes, it can be done. With technology, I think, like Samir touched upon, and Bhaskar also touched upon, right? What would have happened in next 5 years? We have just fast forwarded, right? And we have that potential opportunity right now, right? To not let the user suffocate, right? How do we make best use of it? Is obviously yet to be seen. We have seen cases, lawsuits being filed against biggest of the top giants, right? How data breach happens. So, am I listening to the consumer? Will define how it pans out. Do we let them suffocate, or we do something about it? So I'll rest my case here, saying that we definitely have an opportunity here. We can do it. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you so much. I mean, you have touched upon so many topics already. You have touched upon data-driven advertising, ad blocking, data scrapping for that matter. So let's just invigorate further. Now, moving forward, let's understand the prominent concerns in digital advertising from different lenses. So I've actually chalked out in this way. First, we'll be talking and deciding on the, like, looking from the perspective of marketers, and then we come down to the customer's perspective. So that will give a fair chance to both the perspectives. So let's adopt first the lens of marketer. So marketers have allocated and they have allowed the ad agencies to operate autonomously. When buying an ad space and granting these agencies and ad tech providers a lot of freedom. Given Google, Facebook, and other advertising exchange being anonymous, now ad selling process, it raises issues of transparency for the marketers. Now, to quote Banner Flow product owner Jon Carlston, he stated, "You need to know where your banners are served, and you need to know where your money is spent in the ad tech chain," unquote. This makes lack of transparency as often talk about concern in digital marketing ecosystem. Now, I would like to know your insight on this. How this lack of transparency can cost marketers. So I'll start with Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar to give an opening note on that.
Thanks, Yukti. I'll just add a few things further. So whenever there is any kind of marketing campaign, either traditional or the digital side, it actually depends on the brand and the kind of services or products they are in. A B2B company or a B2C company may have completely different needs and completely different digital platform to get their voice in. But having said that, as I said earlier, in traditional advertising, it is to be more of human dealing, and in digital, it's more automated, which is more sophisticated one. So in ideal condition, most of the time, there are places where you are actually advertising, and there is no need to get them advertised over there. That is one issue. Second, getting the right kind of ROI or understanding it, it's becoming a bit difficult. So in a traditional world, there is to be various kind of calculations or understanding to calculate the ROI. I'm not saying those are right, but those are no accepted norms. But as digital marketing has come into prominence, most of the marketers or the agencies are still struggling to understand what kind of right ROI will be for a particular campaign. So these are the two issues which can come up. And third thing is this, in digital marketing, there is a direct interface with the consumer. Whereas in traditional, advertising, if you're giving a print ad or electronic ad, getting the kind of response from the customer was a bit difficult. Whereas in digital, the customer response in bang there. It's real time. It also gives out a lot of opportunity for the competition or pressure groups to get into some kind of building up negative image. So on the whole, it's difficult to understand the ROI, and obviously there will be a lot of issues. But I think somewhere it's empowering the consumers also.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majumdar. Now, just adding on to this, I would like to now invite Mr. Kapoor to just add to this understanding or to our understanding of lack of transparency between ad agencies as well as the marketers.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Sharma. And like Manu mentioned, there's so much of data that is now flowing in. It becomes very difficult and since you worked in marketing and your research is also in marketing, marketers are always short-staffed. So what has happened is when they go in for their path of the journey, which was primarily linear at one point in time, we had that funnel thing, and as I said, it is now becoming more circular, and from vertical, it is becoming more horizontal. What marketers are trying to do is that they're trying to look at the way in that instead of controlling everything, they're trying to have a collaboration. And that's where the techies come into play. That's where influencers or collaborators come into play. And as long as the numbers are something that are being achieved for the marketers, they have not looked at, and you rightly quoted, where my banner ad is appearing. Banner ad, in fact, is one of the, from a billboard perspective, is one of the worst thing that has happened to the internet, from that side. However, when you look at the way it is getting leveraged, whether it is machine learning, artificial intelligence, and Manu, of course, has been working on this, there is this entire element of digital natives. Your entire audience is digital native. I am a digital migrant. When I was born, there was no such tools that were available. It's only during my 10, 12, 15 years of experience that these things started coming up. Now, what happens with digital natives is that they love their F factors. Now, the F factors is, one, of course, is family, that we say that's the biggest word of mouth, and friends. And the new F factors are your Facebook fans or your Twitter followers, right? Or now the blue tags on Instas that have started, giving them the huge amount of fame factor for them. So for marketers, it becomes very difficult to understand, and there are a lot of instances you've seen in India as well. In order to get your YouTube video liked, you've gone to bots, you've made sure that the number of likes have gone into few millions. And then after some time, so data transparency becomes an important issue. The reason why this is happening is because the information is not free flow. From an economics perspective, there's an asymmetry in information. So a lot of these people want to hold on to the data, and the marketers feel, as long as I'm getting those likes, I'm getting so million hits, they feel, yes, they've done their work well. So that's my addition to what Bhaskar has just mentioned earlier.
Thank you so much for the insight. Now, just as mentioned by Mr. Kapoor, Mr. Malhotra, now it actually requires your deliberation on information asymmetry, how information asymmetry is leading to lack of transparency. That actually is a question I would like to put in over here.
I think that's very much relevant, if you look at, transparency. We've tried, we as in the ecosystem, right? Both the brand side and plus the agency, the entire ecosystem has tried to address it in last 5 to 10 years in many ways, right? We started off with, and you've seen some of the mature economies like US, right? When we say they have around $150 billion of digital ad spend, the cut of programmatic ad tech, a programmatic ad buy would be more than 80% in US, while in India it's a completely other way around, right? So transparency has been tried. The whole ecosystem has tried to address it in many ways, right? The other element that I would like to bring is, look at today, if you're spending $1 on advertising through programmatic, actually, if you look at the technology by the spend that you have to commissioning, the agency model, everything, that if you put in perspective, as a brand, you end up spending out of that $1 only 20 to 30% on actual ad, right? Rest, all of it goes in the technology play, plus the agency play, plus the planning play, everything, right? Now, transparency has to be addressed at many levels. We have not got all the answers, and that's where the whole, ecosystem is moving towards. People are asking, and if you look at IAB in recent times has come up with several initiatives around this. So I think I would not say we are very close to those answers, but we need to find them, because everyone is asking those questions. We've had some of the biggest companies, right? Consumer product companies, I would not like to name, but some of the biggest CPG companies that we know across the world, they pulled their digital ad spends in last couple of years just because it was not transparent where their ads were served. They were served, they end up serving to, let's say, some porn sites, non-contextual content, and their brand suffered, right? So I think this transparency issue is becoming far more relevant now with the scale and complexity than we ever asked it before, right? And it is very relevant. We are far from finding those answers. Let me make it more complex. You mentioned Facebooks of the world, and you look at Facebook, Google duopoly, that is now getting challenged, and rightfully, right? You have Amazon coming up as the next big media retail company, right? And if you have Amazon, why would not Walmart or Instacart follow the suit, right? So I think the whole media play with if I don't have conflict of interest, if I am an unbiased partner to you, brings in a lot of transparency. But unfortunately, most of our big media play destinations like Facebooks or Googles of the world have been black boxes for us, right? And we can't see things through them, right? It is fine till the rise of initial 5-7 years, but now I know some of the brands that I work with, they choose not to operate on some of these giants because they know, if I am a top player in the industry, my data tells the story of the industry, how it is going to pan out, right? And that is sensitive data, right? That is sensitive data. No, but I need to reach masses. How do I work, right? These are questions that are emerging, right? And of course, these are intriguing questions, and that's where we are in the business of finding these answers.
Thank you so much. Very wonderful point that was made regarding during the conversation was one, information asymmetry leading to an agency problem. So to be very precise, there is some kind of unbiased or like biased partners we are talking about with vested interest who may somehow obstruct the very flow of information as intended. So I would like to now invite Dr. Anvita to please what's your take on this regarding this agency problem issue that is actually raised by Mr. Malhotra here.
Right. I'd like to, so I corroborate with quite a few points that all of them have made, but there's another, not really another perspective, but I think I'd like to zoom back and kind of look at the big picture, because I've been on both sides of the table, like on the client side and on the agency side. And now, of course, and not now, of course, but throughout as a customer myself, right? But right now we're talking about the marketer and this thing. So I think one is the fact of the matter is that when you say that with digital comes empowerment, now my customers can speak to me directly. I can speak to my customers directly. That's an enabler, right? Like I previously said. But at the same time, and we're also saying that digital is the way forward. It's already the way forward. It's not going to be, it's already the way forward. But that said, that doesn't mean that the traditional media
are you able to hear us?
I think you're in, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nevertheless, we still see, Netflix, let's say Sacred Games or any other new series that's coming up on an external billboard, like an outdoor billboard. So I think as marketers, we should not lose grip of this, because ultimately, if you kind of zoom out, what you're really seeing is that digital is yet another platform, like your print, like your media, like your radio, like your TV. Digital is yet another platform. Yes, right now it is the biggest thing in our face, and it is like, it's advantageous because of so many other, it's cost effective. I have more access to people. My customers can talk to me. There are all those advantages. But at the same time, those customers are getting irritated with my bombardment and things like that. So there is advantage and disadvantage. So I think, it's important to not just zoom in and look at the nuances of digital marketing, but also kind of zoom out and see what is it as a marketer. Like if I'm in Castrol and I have a new brand to sell, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to achieve? Who is it that I want to speak? And for everything that I'm collaborating with Mr. Samir, as my agency partner or as my digital channel partner, he and I, at the end of the day, whatever monies that we spend, there are two things that we want to achieve. One, my brand Castrol needs to sell. At the end of the day, the oil bottles need to be sold. That's the most important thing. Two, all my customers, existing, non-existing, potential, and the extra base that I want to kind of hit across, they shouldn't be irritated with me at the end of the day, right? So these are the, one can go into programmatic advertising, one can go to content moderation, one can put in all the AdWord or the keyword, busters and, the stoppers and YouTube DF and all of that. But at the end of the day, those are operational tools. But our objective that we need to meet as a marketer is so that my business is happening, my sales is happening. And that could be anybody. That could be somebody as big as a 200-year-old company like any of the FMCGs or any of, let's say, even Castrol for that matter, or Aditya Birla. Or it could be somebody, my mom making papad at home, right? She's at 50 years of age or 60 years of age, she suddenly wants to sell papad on the internet. So at the end of the day, her papads need to be sold. That is the most important thing. So while we can go, deeper into the thing and figure out how is it that we can kind of not irritate our customers and yet get them to, buy our product, and what are the various tools that we have for this. But I think between me and Sameer, we should not, or even Mr. Bhaskar for that matter, or even Manu for that matter, because Manu is the man who's going to help me do this job. Between the three of us, I think we need to kind of, it's like both of us know that we have to complete this project, and that project title is sales, or that project title is business at the end of the day, and not diluting my brand. So I think that this we cannot lose focus of. No matter if today is digital, when my dad was there, it was the newspapers, or when my grandfather was there, it was probably the radio, or vice versa. Let's not I don't think we should lose focus of that. Yeah.
Also to add that boom of digital marketing doesn't mean that the traditional media is dying.
Absolutely.
So there has to be a proper media mix for any kind of campaign. Suppose if there is a brand which has to reach out to the government or bureaucrats, I don't think digital marketing would be the right way to do. Their traditional media or print media becomes very important. So as I said,
yeah, that's right. I just wanted to add. So there are three paradoxes that in one of the articles that I wrote earlier, that in the hyper age of connectivity, every marketer face. One is what we call it as the offline versus online paradox. Which primarily means which, like Bhaskar said, which route to choose, how to do it, and like Dr. Anvita said, that while you have Sacred Games or Mirzapur coming on, but you will see all the billboards on all the offline space talking about, hey, why don't you go and watch this channel. The second paradox is an informed customer versus a distracted customer. And you have mobile companies are now facing it. Doctors are facing it. You go and Google yourself first as to what are your symptoms. And I've seen a lot of at one of my family doctors place that if you've come and Googled yourself, please don't waste my time. That's the kind of thing that the customers are also doing it. And then of course we have a negative advocates and a positive advocate. So these are the three elements that come into play for any, which are paradoxes. Like Manu said, there are solutions to be found here. I'm sure all of us are working towards that. But I just wanted to add that point, that these are the three paradoxes that any marketer is currently facing in the age of connectivity.
Yes, I'd like to just add to what Mr. Bhaskar said. Not really add, but probably just give an example. For instance, the point that you made about the media mix, and again, that's the responsibility of the marketer or the brand custodian and the agency. That who is it that we're targeting and where are we targeting? For example, while as an organization we have crores to spend, at least in an MNC we have crores to spend, and of course the most logical way to go about it is the way forward, which is the digital. But if you're talking about tractor oil, among other oils like the bike oils and the car oils, we're talking about the tractor oil. My truck driver is not going to be on the internet, right? He might now just be on Facebook, but on a larger space, when he's, when I'm trying to influence his buying decision, he's not going to be on the internet. He would be driving across highways across the country. So for him, the outdoor, makes a lot more sense. A radio ad, jahan pe wo Castrol acha tel hai aapka, this thing, something like that will make so much of a difference. So, the media mix is such an important decision maker, and, we could get that completely right or completely wrong. So that's, I think.
And if I can add, in the interest of especially students here who are here, and this is something that I always touch when I teach digital marketing also, and I exclusively, as a disclaimer, I make it a point. And this is actually stemming from what Dr. Anvita also shared. Especially this is for you all students out there listening. When you have to create any marketing solution for any problem statement that is given to you, please try to understand what is the business all about. Business strategy is the overriding theme. I have failed myself. I have failed myself whenever, as a very digital enthusiast, 5, 7 years back, I always had a fantastic digital marketing solution. This is how the plan looks like. First thing that we have to understand, that's what Dr. Anvita is also touching upon. What is the end goal? A business, how does a business operate? What is their revenue model? What is their sales cycle? What are they trying to do? Every business is in a different life cycle stage at every, so for example, this year is increasing revenue or getting into new target segments or a new product portfolio. You have to understand those business questions before finding any marketing solution, because from a business strategy flows a HR strategy, a operation strategy, a marketing strategy, and of course a marketing strategy would have a play of offline plus online. It is never versus. I have never seen it as a versus. When you talk to any head of marketing, they will always have a holistic game plan. So I think in interest of all the students, I thought we get carried away sometimes. That's good. We are very enthusiastic about digital landscape, but at the same time, everything starts with, like Dr. Anvita touched upon, what is the business all about and what are you trying to do? Even with marketing, what is that plugin that you're trying to solve for the entire business, right? This is very, very important.
Thank you so much. Such a nice insights and very so much value inputs over here. Now, let's take this conversation further and let's take the marketeer's perspective. And now let's see, just putting another problem over here. Now, digital marketing campaigns, if we see, are costly, time consuming, and there is no guarantee that it will net you with a positive ROI. Now, so in this pretext of performance marketing, KPIs for marketing campaigns are designed in a way that the marketers are incentivized to push and more customers, to reach out to as many as customer at a volume scale. Now, what according to you is the role of brands in determining the right mix of advertising across a various platforms to make it less intrusive for the customer? And what are the negative effects of intrusive advertising on brand awareness and brand equity? So now I'll go anti-clockwise because Mr. Malhotra, you mentioned a point over here of like those organizations putting their advertisement to some wrong platforms. So now this actually raises a question of brand concern. So here I want to know your insight on the same.
So I'll tell you a very interesting thing. What has happened is, Dr. Yukti, let's say 2010, right? And every brand was told, oh, digital is big. You should adopt marketing technology solutions, right? Brand said, yes, that's right. We have proven data from Statistas of the world to e-marketers of the world that state US is a definitely economy we look up to, how maturity of this is. Yes, we should do. So what brands did? I acquired one marketing technology solution. Fantastic. So let's say Manu is their prospective audience. With that marketing technology solution, they know extra 5% of Manu. These are my choices, right? Things progressed, and you have known, we all have seen how startups came up with fantastic technology interventions, this level of insight, that level of insight. Come 2012, brand said, okay, I have this aspect. Now I want to evaluate this. They bought another technology solution, point solution, right? Things went on this way till 5-7 years, and suddenly the brand thinks, okay, I have a fantastic solution for my CRM. I have a fantastic solution for my email marketing program. I have a fantastic solution for my support customer queries, right? You would have seen the latest ad from Airtel that they say in the face, these are the customer queries we are getting, and our target is 0, right? So you've got a fantastic technology solution for customer support queries, the chatbots you've seen. You've got a fantastic point solution for analytics on your websites, app properties, how your customers are doing. But eventually what happened is you had fragmented view of Manu as a customer, 5% here, 5% here, 5% here, 5% here, 5% here, that never equated to a complete view to a marketeer as 100% of Manu. So our email marketing team knows 5% of me, and they keep shooting me those emails. The analytics team knows 5% of me, how I behave on their website. The social media team knows, because they've got a point solution that doesn't talk to other solutions, right? They know 5% of me. A very smart CRM system where all leads are stored inside sales plus sales team, they keep all the data there. They know 5% of me, how I respond, right? But the whole integrated view of a customer was never seen by a marketer. So what would a marketer do at his best? He will do all these mistakes, right? Because the whole ecosystem, we took those point solutions, and the whole view of the customer was never ever visible. And the biggest problem, and we all know, we come from corporate landscape, analytics team store their data in their own way. All teams store their data in their own way. So the data never talks to each other. That's completely unstructured data, right? And there is organization silos. Let's accept it. There is always, right? These are different teams, right? A customer support team does not, that data, does it get integrated with other streams of data, right? So once you have this disparate sources of data, siloed data, so Dr. Yukti, how would you see me? You would see one shade of me in one shade of me in one, and that's what we ended up doing. And now what organizations are realizing is, and you would have seen earlier, all these point solutions had license models. If you bought it, these are enterprise heavy, and if you bought it, you had to stay invested for 5, 7, 10 years to get an ROI from such a technology solution. You cannot just walk away from it, right? Next year, no, it's not working for us, right? You have to stay invested in it. Now you would have seen all these big technology solutions have gone the cloud way, subscription way. Because organizations have started asking, brands have started asking, okay, fine, we got this technology answer, but we are not finding solutions. We are still ending up suffocating our customers, right? I'm not seeing the complete journey of the customer at all. So he goes on to social media, there's a impression served there, then he goes on to Google search engine, okay, fine, he clicks there, he goes back to another social media platform, again, awareness generation, but where is he converting? And why am I only looking at, he just bought from this platform? Where is the complete customer journey? Right? That's what I am able to see. So that's where, that's what is happening. So that's where you would have seen all these solutions have now changed. Big technology giants who are coming up with these solutions, technology-led interventions to give a complete view of the customer journey. This is not license model now. This is subscription model. And brands are getting empowered. They want to walk away from a solution next day if it doesn't work for them. They don't want to stay invested for 5, 10 years, right? So I think that's what I see as a big trend, and that's a good trend, because siloed data, unstructured data doesn't tell a story, and where we serve ad, this is how much I know of Manu. I love running, right? I love running, but that doesn't mean I'm on the internet all the time to buy a running shoe. Context is very important. I am looking at a content which talks about Black Lives Matter. I want to contribute. I want to associate with it. Now, if you tell me an ad at that point in time, I'm not interested. But as a consumer, I know. So if you don't know me holistically, you will, get it wrong.
Yeah, Dr. Sharma, if I were to just add into what Manu is saying, what actually marketers need to do is to combine this. So brands actually now need to combine the immediacy of the online and the intimacy of the offline channel. So omni-channel, of course, like we discussed earlier, omni-channel is not going away. We just need to embrace omni-channel in a big way. And the disruption for marketers and for brands have happened at various levels. Like you mentioned in your opening comment, mobile connectivity is the most basic. That's the first thing that one has to do. The other is about the experiential connectivity, which is about how marketers will use both web and the non-web, internet and the non-internet, to make sure that this intimacy and immediacy can happen. And the highest level is social connectivity, which is about communities. So Manu is into running, but in Manu's social network, he is the media. It is about his running. It is not about what Nike can do with his running, right? And Nike can just go and do it. But how can Nike help Manu? Now, Manu is a runner. I am a walker. I don't want to know what my Nike has done to Michael Jordan, right? I want to know what Nike can do to my life, because on my Facebook and on my social network, I am the media. It is about my story. It's not about the brand story. And if the brands are able to understand this well, and that's where PR, this year you've seen a huge amount of investment gone into PR, because PR helps you in connecting to that narrative, which is, let's say, Manu's narrative or Dr. Anvita's narrative or Bhaskar's narrative. It is not about what I want to say to you, right? It's about what you are already doing and how can I fit into your life, is what the branding, has moved into that stage.
So adding to what Manu and Samira said, during COVID time, and there is a huge impact on business. And I think every company, be it small, be it big, be it B2B or be it B2C, have become very cautious on spending their money. And the earlier thought of advertising were more of traditional media, which is print, and electronic, which is still considered as more costly than digital, because a print ad in Delhi Times may cost you something 3.5 lakhs to 4 lakhs, whereas same digital ad in economictimes.com may be around 50,000. So most of the brands have they have thought of getting into digital marketing because of the marketing spend also. Now it has happened so quickly. I mean, things which should have been happening in 24-25 has happened in 2021, and we are sitting on a heap pile of data. I think that understanding of how to use which platform for which brand is still been struggled by brands. And as Samira said, as marketing spend is going down, more and more focus on corporate communication and role of the communication team is becoming more relevant. Now, as Samir has said that communication department can actually pinpoint and create messaging or talk points, and then choose what kind of platform which brand actually needs. So, I think it's all because of things are happening so fast. I'm sure in due course of time, maybe in another 6 months of time, things will be far better.
Dr. Anvita, would you like to add something?
A different thought came to my mind, and while all of them were speaking, all of us were speaking, I just realized that one is that we like, I don't know if you guys have seen the McKenna Gold's movie, where once the people just find the gold, they just go and everyone, there's no structure to it. It's probably towards the fag end of the movie that they find the gold, and if the mountain is crashing down and still people are like, no, last minute, let's just take the gold. The reason I'm giving you this example is data is like that right now. I mean, in the last 10 years, data has become the currency. I mean, there's no other currency than data. But at the same time, we forgot time was a currency too, right? Time of the customer, time of the marketer, time of the business people. We forgot that was a bigger currency than data. We got so lost in this, it's a gold versus diamond, this thing. So we got so lost in one, data. Second, I think it is a dilemma. I mean, it's clearly a dilemma, and that's why we're struggling. And obviously, it's not something that has like, print and media and everything else. Years of experience and years of bettering it. Vis-a-vis, the digital platform is just about, like, let's say 20 years or 30 years. So, kind of putting them together and figuring out what to do with this huge amount of currency called data is still a struggle. While there are experts in the algorithm development in the technical side, there are experts in the brand side, there are experts as marketers, but still I think we're kind of still struggling somewhere there. That's one. That's the second point. And the third point is the FOMO. I think especially now during the pandemic and more, everyone is like, so one of my clients, now that I'm into consulting, one of my clients has worked very well for the last 50 years. He's the second generation of his family business. And they are minting money, like they're in crores. I mean, crores is like nothing for them. So he suddenly realized, and he's a B2B model, like Mr. Majumdar said, he's a B2B model. He manufactures clothes and he, sells it to the Pantaloons and the Cross Central and your shop, all of the malls basically, right? So baby clothes essentially. Now suddenly, because of the pandemic, he feels, and his business model is fabulous. Like, it's working. His father set it up. He and his brothers are now running it. It's fabulous. It's running very well. And he has a huge team of some 200 sales guys across the country, across the world, and things like that. And he's making huge amount of money. But the pandemic has now, just because the malls shut down briefly, he suddenly realized that, oh, I should become B2C now. Oh, I should build my brand, And all these years, they did have a website, which was just a dummy website. Now the gentleman is putting loads of money in, marketing. I'm sorry, in digital marketing. So, and I sense in him a need of desperation. He feels he's losing out, So that fear of missing out, that is adding to the chaos on the internet. So now it's not just 10 of us brands who are already there and who've established and who have the wherewithal to spend on the digital space along with all other spaces. There are also the smaller guys who are coming, and everybody, everyone's like, I want a piece of this pie. They're not understanding whether it'll make sense or not. So so that and that's the responsibility of the digital marketers, be it Manu, Mr. Kapoor, Mr. Majumdar, me myself. If I'm there as a consultant, or if I'm there on the Castrol or any other companies, this thing to tell people, just hold on, not required. I mean, all of us don't need to be on the internet. So I think that's the third point. And the last point which I want to say, which is basically referring back to my second point, which is the dilemma. Like, now we are 5 of us in this room, and we ourselves, between the 5 of us, we have 10 opinions, right? Now, as a marketer, if I'm getting access to my customer, and this kind of ties back to what Manu said, the fact that Manu is interested in technology, and he's also a runner, but I'm not sure if Manu wants to buy running shoes as of today. So I'm just getting these fragmented data, and not to mention, Manu is probably screaming at me at Nike, saying that, boss, I didn't ask for these shoes, please. So, so there's so many things as a marketer, as a business person, as a business head, or as a company. I'm glad I got to hear my customers, but on the other side, oh my God, I don't know what to do with so many customer voices, because everything is so contradicting. There's so much data to handle. So, all of these kind of add to the problem rather than solve the problem. So, technology, and so it's not that we're saying technology is bad. No, that's not what we're saying, but we're saying what is to be done with that technology. How to use that data is more important than, oh my God, just getting lost, or or just saying, okay, I'm a new businessman, or I'm an old businessman. I feel like I'm missing out on the digital space, so let me come out of this space. So I think these 4-5 points kind of add up to the confusion that's happening right now.
Very true. Thank you. Such wonderful insights. Now we had enough discussion on the marketer's perspective. Now let's talk business. Now let's talk about the customer's perspective, who actually are also the one faces a lot of FOMO, right? As stated by you. So at the outset, let's understand their problem. So as per the statistics, which claims that average attention span has reduced to 8 seconds. With people obsessed with smartphones, viewers are exposed to more advertisements than ever before. Content overloaded and becoming what we call as to be ad adverse. To quote some statistics, 86% of the viewers skip through ads, and 47% utilizes ad blockers, including me and other 650 million people. Now, given the scenario, how difficult it is for advertiser to catch their attention in this limited, scarce attention span. So now I would like to invite Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar to give his opening insight on this.
For customers, I think it's a good time, because they are getting huge content to consume, and it's completely up to them what to consume or what not. But for the marketers, I think it's becoming very difficult because whatever the platform or whatever the tool they use, it has to be very catchy. It has to be very short, crisp, and interesting for the consumer to consume. But I am still struggling to understand one thing. Even if a consumer is consuming one particular brand's campaign, whether that consumer is getting attached to that brand or not, it's very, very difficult to say. So that struggle will be always there. As I earlier said, these things has happened. So fast that not only the marketers or the agencies, it's difficult for the consumers to also understand what to consume, how to consume, and what exactly would be the impact.
Very true. So, Mr. Malhotra, would you like to add on to this?
Okay, I'll share something interesting. So look at the plight of the customer here, prospective customer who is seeing all these ads. As much as today, this is my completely personal perspective. I don't have data to support it, but I do have data to support that Netflix and Disney Plus have grown significantly in last 12 months. But I'm thinking an interesting perspective. I don't have data right now to support it, but look at the plight of the customer who is bombarded with so many ads. Why won't I choose such platforms? Why won't I? Right? That's what, and you mentioned ads that people skip. Some of and we all know some of the biggest search engines of the world, they added non-skippable ads, right? As if I'll not suffocate you down. I'll give you a capital punishment, right away, right? So I mean, as much as I want to give a lot of credit to the very original content, look at the plight of the customer. Why would it not shift to a platform where they get huge best in the class content plus no ads, right? That's also one of the factors why Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus of the world have grown. And though I know Disney Plus also has a bit of a play with Hulu, which does ads, but overall, if you look at, that's what is the biggest learning. And I think I in many ways resonate with Bhaskar what he said.
Great. Mr. Kapoor, would you like to add on to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is the best time to be in. The future is now, as we call it. I have so much of data available, information available, choices available, and I have actually grown in an era where I had to wait for my first scooter for 3 years to a time that I can go and buy in case I have money to whatever I want to buy. That, of course, is something that that is shaping the consumer behavior. We are in excess of everything. We don't have paucity. The paucity is only about of time. The only thing is, and something that you mentioned, I have the memory of a goldfish of just 8 seconds, but I also have a memory of an elephant that I'm going to remember forever. So if an Ola driver or an Uber driver has not behaved well with me, I will just use my social media to rant about it, and I will probably tell 18 or 20 more people that see how bad it is. And if I have a good experience, I might probably tell one or two more people, that okay, this thing has been good. So what has happened over the period of time, and Manu just touched upon it, and since we are working as Factors is working with Star, we know that what Disney Star has been able to get in these 7 months numbers, Netflix took 7 years. And that's what I'm saying. We have fast forwarded this entire element in this entire space. So anything which is reinforcing your positive belief as a consumer, you're going to stick onto it. Anything which is not reinforcing it, you are going to go off. So number of people who have taken on to cooking, and I know Bhaskar, the kind of cooking he's done over these lockdowns, I just wish I have an ad blogger where I can block some of the stuff that he's putting on his social media. At the same time, people who've taken on to the online classes on fitness or on yoga or other things. So consumer behavior is changing. Anything that reinforces this positive model or positive beliefs, consumer will lap onto it. And people, of course, which are not believing to such model, they will, there's going to be a change. And number of people this time, and Dr. Anvita talked about it, my uncle who stays with me is 85. He's never done an online transaction through digital wallets or has never ordered through Amazon. But during this lockdown, he was forced to do it. There was no other way, right? So this entire transition that has happened, and the entire, as I said, the digital migrants moving towards digital nativity is a different combination altogether. The beliefs are changing. We are going to invest more on health and hygiene. The kind of kadas I have drunk during this time, it's amazing. And the kind of money that have been spent on immunity boosters during this time has been amazing. So there is a change. There are certain things that are going to stick, as I said, from a stickiness perspective, but there are certain things that are going to change. So, for example, travel, nothing has happened so far, and there's a pent-up demand. Everyone is itching to go out. I'm sure you would have seen what has happened to Goa recently. the moment a little bit of the curb has been lifted, the world is now going there. So yes, one, from a marketer's perspective, I need to understand what consumer behaviors are. There is, of course, a behavior science. You've done a subject in that, right? I have also studied about it, but one needs to understand how this journey of a consumer is. But I feel consumer has a choice. He's more empowered. He can block whatever he wants to, and he can go deep dive into whatever he wants to. So that's my small take on this.
Also adding to one thing, pre-COVID era, I mean, the consumer psyche was always for any brand of any buy. It used to be more cost effective, but post-COVID era, along with the cost, health, safety has become much more important, and the consumers are ready to pay a premium for any particular brand. So
But
age
Bhaskar, there
old,
is also a trading down that has happened during this time. If you
yeah,
look at a lot of numbers, people have not, and of course, Dr. Sharma has worked on luxury. The luxury brands at the extreme end has worked well, but
yeah,
those in the middle have seen people trading down because they feel now they're questioning whether I need,
exactly,
so many things or not.
exactly, exactly.
Very true. Just coming from luxury, I'll say, instead of people, there was completely a contrasting thing that I've noticed. More people are posting about luxury. Looking at more terror management in the times of pandemic, they have started making more of such posts, which was very interesting. So coming to this, Anvita, I want to add on.
Yeah, I do want to add on because I'm listening very keenly to, as a customer, I'm listening very keenly to this conversation. I realize I have to go as spending, and Mr. Bhaskar's cooking food and tasting is definitely pending. So that's a data point I'm like kind of already stored in my head right now. Okay, so jokes apart, the question that you asked, Dr. Sharma, is the fact it's not a new question. I mean, let's just really reel back. Even when as kids, when we used to watch Ramayana and Mahabharata, the few ads that used to come, I think all of us sitting in the room would groan. Oh my God, ad! We just wanted to see what Hanuman was going to do right now, right? So, so it's not really a new question. It is the same old question that, as a consumer, oh my God, can I like just do away with these ads, right? So it was always there. The only difference today is that the groan of the customers can be heard by the marketers or by the business heads. And second, as a marketer from this side, or as a brand custodian, I now know who is complaining. Like, so Mr. Samir sitting in Delhi is complaining about the Vajradanti ad that came after just when Hanuman was going to take the plunge, right? So that's the extra bit of data. But at the end of the day, the question is always stale, right? And as marketers, as business people, as a society as a whole, we've been changing. For instance, before, if we went to the movie theater to watch a movie and we did not like those initial sponsors and I mean, even now, not even in India, not too far away, but just before COVID, who's that general Rajesh cancer say whatever, and we would groan, we didn't want to watch that. But as a customer, as a society, I think we all moved, we kind of said here that we don't want to see these ads. And that is why OTT platforms like Disney and Netflix have even become better. I mean, they're growing like crazy. Netflix started out as a DVD renting out company. It's become the OTT platform. Where is DVD renting out and where is OTT platform? They're two different sectors altogether. So I think the most important thing as a customer is, if we make our voice heard, and not just about the Ola driver ranting or any other food that had a fly in it, not just that kind of ranting, but I think if we make our voice heard as a collective, which currently is happening for the Facebook scenario, which is why Mr. Mark Zuckerberg was pulled up across federal courts across various countries. As a customer, as a society, when we make our voice heard, trends happen, trends change. And I think we are at the crux or at the apex of this kind of a change where, okay, we're done with, as customers, we're done with overload of data. But right now, I want to kind of make it structured, because guess what? Yesterday for my sister, I checked out diamond rings, but I don't want to buy diamond rings for the next 1 week. And I don't want you to, bombard me with that information, because guess what? You, Mr. Marketer, you got it wrong. Mr. De Beers, you got it wrong. It wasn't my data. It was for my sister. So this kind of segmentation, this kind of policing, which will not happen only with the customers speaking up. It will also happen with authorities. And, like I said right in the beginning, it's a country that's waiting to be kind of policed. Internet is a country which needs to be policed. So I think that kind of policing also, will make life easy for everybody. It'll handle the marketer's dilemma of how much to tell, and oh my god, am I like irritating my customers? And it'll also handle the dilemma of the customers, where should I fly to Delhi and actually have Mr. Bhaskar's food, or can he just parcel it across to me? So that kind of dichotomy it'll take care of. So I think as a society, if we've moved from theater to Netflix, OTT, that's a very good sign. And I think this kind of trends will keep changing, and trends, there is hope. Like I think Manu said right in the beginning, there's an opportunity, and it's a positive opportunity. So rather than sitting, like when you're in the pit, sitting and wondering, oh my god, I'm in the pit, oh my god, I'm in the pit, instead of that, to kind of think of various ways to get out of the pit, I think is the way forward. And the internet is not going to be that bad devil, so to say.
And if I can just add, consumers are also very smart today, right? I know who can hear my voice for what. So for example, I have complete faith in government and institutional bodies for privacy. You would have seen GDPRs of the world coming in, and there will be soon a regulation anticipated in the US as well. In India also, we're talking about it. So we know where government and institutions will hear us. But at the same time, I also know where they will not, right? In this, last year we've seen world over, institutions, government bodies have failed to address pandemic. We've seen how Black Lives Matter, we would have expected better handling of these situations, right? So as consumers, I also know, as a consumer, I also know these are areas where government and institutional bodies fail time and again, and we've seen that. That's where I start relating more to some of the privately held brands, where at least you would have seen 10 years back, brands would stay away from this kind of provocative situation, where they can be seen, right? Taking or leaning on one side. But now, consumers want those brands to take a stance on these issues, right? Globally, and they relate more to those brands, right? They win me over if they stand for a cause, right? I think so when I make a voice, I know whom to reach out to and when. Some of the times I know these brands will stand and they will take a cause for the entire universe or the world that we live in, and sometimes we will lean on to government and institutional bodies, right? So that's another aspect that we are beginning to see.
Also, I have a observation. India being a young country, and all of a sudden, because of COVID, the digital marketing or campaigns have changed. Now, this is completely my perception. Most of the campaigns or most of the thought is, targeting to either millennials or Gen X, Gen Z, and somehow, they're ignoring customers like me who are coming from Orkut age and trying to struggle to get into Telegram or Signal. Without understanding this thing, that this set of consumer also have access to digital media, and if they are not happy about one particular campaign or one product, they will be very vocal about it.
Also, Dr. Sharma, just taking on from what Bhaskar and Manu has just said, humanizing your brand or human-centric approach is very, very important, and brand standing for purpose will stand the test of time. So Tesla, for example, you've seen, while all other auto companies have been struggling, I think Mr. Musk has been laughing all the way to bank, and of course his share price and his personal wealth has soared so much. But primarily, what at the heart of it is what they are promoting is that humanizing brand and social responsibility. Whether it is Body Shop, whether it is Tesla, or whether it is the cult brands like Apple, people are talking about it because it fits into their life. And like Manu said, whether it is Black Lives Matters, the CEO just can't wish away. No, this is not something that Harvard Business Review, after so many years, decided not to publish the top 100 management professionals this year. If you see the latest edition, where the editor has actually mentioned, and one of the reason is because Black Lives Matters was pushing into their side. He realized that all the people are white, male, and are not that fits into the current scheme of things. So they decided, after what, 40 odd years, that I will not publish the list of the top 100 management leaders of the century or of the year. Which, what Manu has just said, that someone which is an age old, we've grown up when we were doing MBA, which was almost 30 years back. That was one of the Bible for us to read, and it was very expensive. So we used to go in for the second hand copy. But now, of course, you can buy it online as well. The fact that an institution like HBR decided not to publish it because the Black Lives Matter was entering into their lives as well, I think humanizing. And you can still go ahead as an editor, you say, no, it doesn't really matter, I will publish whatever is there. Then there would have been a bigger backlash, because people who are reading will say, boss, this is what is happening around us, and you're not even heeding any point, any view to it. Nike has done it for one of the footballer who decided not to stand up or to kneel down during during the national anthem, when the erstwhile president was also there. They actually decided to take him as a face and went all ahead with it. So, but those brands will work for it. So Zomato here in India has done it. One of the gentlemen said, I am canceling the order because he belongs to a particular religion. And Zomato decided, boss, you have to pay me for my cancellation charges. So extreme things happen. We've also seen what has happened with the Tanish ad. So, all these things happens on the online space, and the brand needs to be cognizant of what's happening around them as well. Like Manu said, because people are now asking the brands also to take a stand. You just can't, 30 years back, you can definitely shove it away. Oh, that's a political matter. That's a sensitive matter. Let's not talk about it. But today you have to have a voice and an opinion.
Very
Diversity, inclusion, equity, everything is now becoming part of the boardroom.
So in digital age, anyone and everyone is an influencer.
Very true. So that's what we call as dev marketing. So the marketer really need to be careful about and should be sensitive about what's going on. And here, before we take up the audience questions, because we want to take up the question from audience as well, I want quickly to just respond to this particular question, because it's actually a very important concern. So let me rephrase it for you. So this question goes on so major concern facing the digital advertising is invasion of privacy. So on the pretext of being relevant, marketers have been utilizing the personal data of audience to develop the new ways to push their product. So, and the easiest way for them is to keep a very close eye on the social media behavior of a customer, what we call as data scrapping. And this raises an ethical issue and online privacy problem. Towards this, I would like to know that is there a way the marketers and social media giants can curate a personalized advertisement without compromising on the audience privacy? So I would like to start with Mr. Malhotra on this first.
I think this is the most sensitive issue right now across the globe, and this has got everyone thinking. Now, one is obviously you need to, and by the way, I so remember almost 14 years back in India, one of the top travel companies in India was filed especially on this aspect. How can people who have not subscribed to you, how can you reach them at all, and how can you use their data? When I look at it today, I think much of water has passed under the bridge, but things have not changed. I mean, right? This is one of the most sensitive issues. One is, when I collect the data, am I getting that consent, and is it being understood in the same light by the consumer? Second is, when I use it, when I have that data, what do I do it? Because now I have that custody of that data. I am responsible for that data. I cannot walk away and say, oh, there was a data breach. Oh, somebody used it for misinformation. Oh, it was used for, we know the Brexit cases. We know how things have happened. So I think this is one of the biggest issues, and we saw strict guidelines of GDPR that came in, especially in Europe, right? Definitely, as marketeers, we saw, oh my God, my scale is lost. right? My scale is lost. But I, even as a from a marketing fraternity, I think that's a step in the right direction. In next 2 to 3 years, we will see significant progress around this, right? And some of the things that will go away are our love for the third party data. Cookieless world is here to stay. We know, Chrome also announced, in next some few months, they are gonna drop off those third party cookies. Safari has already done. uh, I'm really happy that some of the big technology companies who form the opinion, who rule the world right now, at least in the digital space, are listening to this. What that essentially means is first party data is going to become very important. My current customers, am I taking care of them? I have huge opportunity to serve their needs in the right capacity, right? Today, every organization or brand is very, very hungry about reaching out the untapped market, right? I want to go, look at the larger funnel. Now, what is going to become more important is my current customers. How can I increase my business with my current customers? How can I serve them in the right capacity? First party data is going to become king, right? Third party data is just going to go away, which is for good. That's how I understand.
Very true. So, Mr. Kapoor, would you like to add on to this?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks. So Manu is right. See, GDPR is something that happened in Europe, is about to happen in India. We are seeing a lot of things that are facing, that is about to face that kind of thing. See, regulators are always curve behind. What happens, something happens, and you will see a new wave or a new curve coming in after a huge uproar on OTT. Suddenly, the regulator will wake up and say, okay, these kind of things, freedom of speech is not absolute. I don't know if you've seen the latest Supreme Court, version on something that has happened on Tandav. Now, similarly, there are other ways that are coming. TikTok, for example, was able to garner number that Facebook took 8 years to take in India. And me and Bhaskar were managing TikTok in India, and we know how great that technology was, that Indians just lapped onto it. But then government came in because there were allegations that there's a data breach that is happening, and the privacy of data is not being managed there. Like Manu said, so what is it that brands can learn? Brands need to become storytellers. Brand needs to get a better story. So anyone that tells a better story will get more eyeballs, will get more customers gravitating towards it. And third party data is absolutely going to die. It should die, actually. I should not be relying, my data should not be floating around every time. Someone knows my number, someone knows where have I gone, where have I checked in, so on and so forth. So for marketers, they need to change their game now. It can't be only on data, it has to be on story telling as well. And like Manu said, it's going to be interesting time. Something that has happened in 2018 in Europe, it's a matter of time, will happen in America, will happen in India, right? And you will see the big tech giants also now looking at different ways of making sure that they make money.
Very true. So, Mr. Majumdar, would you like to add on to this?
I completely agree with Samir and Manu both. I mean, storytelling will be something which is going to get into prominence. And unfortunately or fortunately in India, without regulators stepping in, things will always be in a limbo. So data privacy is something which has to be looked into a different angle altogether.
So very rightly said, we Indians are rather reactive than being proactive. So Anvita, would you like to just put some insight on this? Dr. Anvita, your voice is not audible. I don't know, it's for me or...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that I'm totally in concurrence with all of us, with Manu, with Samir, and with Mr. Bhaskar. So data privacy, see, I'd like to kind of simplify it. It's like this. I'm in my house and I don't mind, doing anything with my curtains open, right? But the moment I know there's a binoculars on the other side of, from my neighbor's house, I'm not comfortable. So that's like really putting it very simply. That's ekdam layman, format. So I think obviously in concurrence with the fact of overburdening of data from the companies to the marketers or to the brand custodians, of basically the third party data is is totally out. It's not happening, and we've all seen a very brief glimpse of it, and I've got some idea of it in the Social Dilemma movie, documentary, which came across Netflix, right, which came in Netflix. So that said, I think it's not, and it's very important to kind of now put policies in place. In GDPR, yes, of course, we've seen it. But even in a country like India, where there are so many, there's so much population and so much data being, just spoken. I'm speaking to my friend. I've already revealed so many things about myself, right? So the policymakers, who is at the table making the policy? It cannot be only the government which tells me don't eat beef from tomorrow onwards. Right? See, I'm a vegetarian. It doesn't make a difference to my life. But the fact that the government is telling my friend, don't eat beef, when probably it's a staple diet because he's from Kerala, it's not okay. But if I get a reasoning as to why the government is saying, probably don't eat beef because, the cow population is reducing or something like that. So when I get a why to what I'm doing or what I'm being asked to do, I think as a consumer, as a customer, I'm a lot more comfortable. So now this ideal scenario can be achieved if we have the right decision makers at the table, and the decision makers should be a mix again, like exactly at a smaller level. If I'm a brand and I want to advertise myself, advertise my product, then I need Mr. Samir and Mr. Bhaskar on both sides of my table. Similarly, at the policy table, at the policy of what can be what should be done, what should not be done, at the policy table, there's got to be not just the government, not just Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, okay, because he's obviously going to put on only his revenue cap right there and try to defend himself, which is what we've seen across the world, or Mr. Musk for that matter. But it also has to have a rightful representation of the consumer, some part of the consumer. Now, how we go about it is a big question again that we need to kind of answer. It should also have smaller businesses. So when you have a collective, I think collective of people, collective of stakeholders, all of whom are influenced, and of course the technology maker, the person who's actually making these, it's like world war is happening and everyone's there, all the political leaders are there. That's not sufficient. Mr. Bomb Maker also needs to be on the table, because Mr. Bomb Maker is going to tell us how we can use the bomb nicely or badly, to destroy or to enable, right? So, so I think policy making and who are the people on the table makes a whole world of difference when it comes to data privacy. And it's very funny because we need to recognize that at one point of time, Mr. Samir said that 30 years ago, we had to pay to get information. Today, we have to pay to not get information. So this irony, I don't even know if that's the right word, but this shift in thinking or not thinking, shift in actual scenario also needs to be taken into consideration when we are kind of data policing. And I think as marketers, we should stop, and as marketers, as brand custodians, and as agencies, stop saying, I want to get the whole segment of data and get across all customers and everybody should look at my product. I think we should just stop that, and we should kind of say no, truck oil only for the tractor driver's boss, not for the biker. So that focus and that kind of limiting how much data I want and what I can do with that data is more important than just getting this whole Meccana's gold of data. So I think all of these put together, and of course, as customers, like I've already said, as customers, if we are more vocal, because Me Too happened, Black Lives Matter happened, they happened, JNU happened because the customers spoke in whichever format of customer that they were. They were students, or they were blacks, or they were whites, or they were women who were harassed in the office space. Customer as a voice makes a difference. Now, whether we use that voice positively, negatively, I think all of this kind of adds up to how we can, reserve the sanctity of data that is being shared by all of us. So I think that's very crucial.
Thank you so much. So it's such a wonderful deliberation from my end. But let me tell you, we have about 112 attendees who are like very curious after such invigorating conversation who want to put in their question. So for that matter, I'll be calling upon our anchors, Vipasha and Roshni. So they will take up those questions from the audience. They'll filter that. And since we want to address as many as questions as possible, so we have actually chalked out few of the guidelines. So I'm just putting up those guidelines again. So firstly, place your question in the chat box. While putting your question, state first your question followed by the context, 1 or 2 lines for the context where you want to place your question. Please also specify the panelist name where you want your question to be directed at. So it actually sounds good. Now over to you, Bipasha and Roshni. Thank you.
Thank you, Yukti ma'am, and thank you everyone present here. You have done amazingly well and we got a lot of insights from you. Sameer sir and Manu sir have already answered a lot of questions while even doing with the panel session. So some are all left. I'll just go with an unanswered one, which is by Harsh Jamaat. So he asks, as it was clear that we need not and should not follow the dogma of pushing the products too hard on digital platforms, how we as marketers should optimize our efforts and make sure we get the desired result? Anyone could answer.
So see, Dr. Anvita, please carry on.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I'd like to rephrase the question. No, I don't think any of the panelists over here or even Dr. Sharma said that we should not push too hard, right? So we'll omit that word from Harsh's question. See, it's like this, when there is something and you want to kind of focus on a particular set of customers and you want to sell your product, please go ahead and push hard. You know, that's number one. Number two, the fact of the matter is that there's not just one way of doing certain things. Like, for instance, even on the internet, even on the digital space, there are various models that one can do. Like, you can have the donation model, you can have the subscription model, you can have the advertisement model. So the question is, who are you and which model you should kind of take? It's not that every product and every marketer needs to take the donation model, the subscription model, and the advertisement model. Like if I'm a newsletter or if I'm a news channel, then for me probably subscription model works. So to recognize this, the need and what's the solution to that is something that I need to focus on as a marketer. So it's not that all is lost and we can't and should not use the digital space. I don't think that's not a point I think in any of us. But the question is whom to push and how much to push is the question.
So on my side, I think one of the ways that marketers can do better by just not relying only on data and doing stuff better is using what we call it as content marketing. There are 8 or 9 steps that each content marketing can make sure. And like we deliberated, making your content more humane and talking about things that impact the consumers. That will make sure that the customer will not be pushed in a harder way and your brand will stand for what exactly you want the brand to. So there is a brand personality, and how that brand personality needs to reach out to the consumer personalities are something that marketers needs to work on.
Adding on to what Samir said, content and storytelling will be very critical whenever there is any kind of outreach. Even if the engagement is more intense, but if there is right content and right kind of messaging, and if there is a kind of storytelling, I'm sure that the consumers will not feel that much, irritated. But I think content and storytelling is a key thing.
And also, Dr. Sharma, I think we need to push away from the 4 Ps or the 5 Ps of marketing that we have learned many years back to the 4 Cs that are now, now emerging. So I think conversation becomes a very, very important thing in whatever we do as marketers and as brands.
When I work with some students, and this is by students, so I thought I'll bring in that perspective. When I work with some students and I give them some case study and they come up with a fantastic plan, right? And I tell them, sometimes your plan looks like I'm shouting from the rooftop and I'm blowing my content away, right? Do you think if I stand at the rooftop, anyone will be interested in what I'm saying? right? That's what I think all of us are trying to say. Are you relating to their story? Are you very humane? Right? All of those aspects have to come. But in the plan, what looks like, this many posts, every hour, this many posts a day on this topic. I'm just blowing it away. I'm not ready to listen to anyone. I don't want to conversate, but I'm just talking about myself.
Anu, we can't blame the students. We marketers are also equally guilty.
Exactly. So I think students, why I always tell them is they are at the right time. They can learn it really early and not make those mistakes. And I give this lame example, but it's so relevant. I do empathize. Sometimes we just go all out and bombard ourselves, and this. Who would be interested in even if I'm whatever. Nobody's interested in me. How can I make a difference to your life? How can I make you better take better choices in whatever products or services you are interested in? Truly, is what matters to you, right? So I think those things have to come into play. And yes, I completely resonate. We are doing those mistakes all over and all across.
So thank you so much for the answer. So yeah, content is necessary, and storytelling is something people should focus on if they want to push their products. That's what you're saying. And I hope this has answered your question, Harsh. Next question, Vipasha, can you take up?
Yes, so the next question is from Rahul Bhankar. He is asking, majority of digital marketing is done on streaming services like YouTube, Netflix, etc. Don't you think the company who wants to advertise its products are extremely dependent on these streaming companies? And do you think this method is sustainable? I think the advertising company also has to now set up an extra layer of data protection from these streaming companies, which is risky. So
absolutely. I mean, we touched upon it, right? Look at what's happening. When we say duopoly, I mean, we are still better placed. 5-7 years back, we were living in a monopoly. Now a duopoly, and we have to break it somehow, right? Because it turns a black box, and then you do not know. So, for example, I'll give you a lame example. Today, you have to sell a shoe, right? Your CPC is 5 rupees, right? Next year it's 6 rupees. Next year it's 7 rupees. Next year it's 8 rupees. You don't know the logic why. Because you can't see through the black box. You don't know what's the demand and supply game. It's a complete black box for you. Right? It has to break somewhere, and I think we are on that verge where it is gonna break. If you look at the revenues, time on for Facebook, they are capping time. I'm only talking about Facebook, not Facebook as a company. They own other products as well. Time on Facebook is capping world over. Right, one of the key metrics for any platform to grow. And by the way, I just want to make a disclaimer. I'm just not targeting Facebook. I'm giving you these examples so that you can relate to, any market cannot sustain for long with a monopoly or a duopoly. Right, we need to have multiple avenues so that it's completely media agnostic. There are no conflicts of interest, and best interest of the brand and the consumer is taken care of.
okay, so if any other panelists would like to add something, otherwise we'll move on to the next question.
You can take the next question.
Okay, so Roshni, would you like to take the next question or?
Okay, I'll take it up. So this is a question from Ankur Sengupta. It is a general question to all of the panelists. He says, we are all aware of the recent controversy around Myntra and how there would be a change in their brand logo. Just now this news came in, right? So how does a brand possibly announce to the world this new adaptation and the reason for the same? Do they do it in the video ad? Do they share out a post? What should be the safest and most logical way, knowing the fact it is sensitive issue, because there could be questions raised on why wasn't it looked up in the first place?
Yeah, see, an NGO filing a complaint against the brand logo and finding the logo to be offensive towards women is something that nobody could have thought of. We are living in an era where everything is becoming sensitive. So yes, brands need to be cognizant, and the fact that Mantra has acted and said that yes, we will have a relook at our logo. What me, Manu, and everyone else, Dr. Anvita and Bhaskar has been talking about, they have started off a conversation, and it will give them little more eyeballs from that perspective. And in case they're able to come out with a logo, so if I'm there, I would probably get a consumer generated logo, something the way the rupee logo was designed. You get people to tell us what the logo will look like. And if on Twitter I'm going to do that, I think I will get more engaged. I will have more conversations. And finally, that when that logo will come, people will own up to that, because they have contributed in designing of that logo. So for me, now making of a video, etc., as again, like Manu said and like Dr. Anvita said, it is about just part of what you're saying. It's a medium, but how do you get that engagement? That is more important. The fact that a brand has taken cognizance of the fact that NGO is feeling unhappy and that they are willing to go and change the logo, I think is something which they should be kind of applauded for. So for me, the route on an omni-channel perspective, of course, should be there. They should do a video, they should do a tweet, they should do an Insta, they should actually put a billboard as well, so that people are aware as to what has happened.
I would kind of agree with what Mr. Samir had to say. Like, I'm thinking if I were Myntra CEO and this kind of this hit me in my face after so many years of being in the business, I think the first thing that I would do is first of all question if the concern raised is valid or not. Is it so obvious that it looks vulgar or it looks indecent? Because there could be many scenarios. There could be a scenario where we had like a Titan, where the recent ad that they had put it out there offended certain religious groups. At the same time, there was a whole big hue and cry about the Padmavat movie. So so one took action, one chose to not take action because one concern was valid and the other concern was not valid. So as a brand myself, the first question that I would ask is the concern raised valid? Second, sometimes something may not be valid. The concern raised may not be valid, but it's valid, but it's got a lot of momentum behind it. And it's, that momentum is going to affect my brand horribly. So then maybe, even though I don't agree with, the concern raised, but if the momentum raised across the internet, across the digital space, across the world is so loud that it's killing my thing. So then that's a call again as a CEO that I need to take, right? Then comes the last part of it, that it's almost like a flow chart. If I'm saying yes, I'm going to change, then what do I do? If no, then what do I do? Because even if I'm not going to address, even if I'm not going to change the logo, I still need to address the concern. The concern doesn't go away. I cannot be mute about it, right? Even if I decide to not change the logo. And well, if I decide to change the logo, then what Mr. Samir said is one of the most fantastic ways of doing it, as if top of mind that I can think of, is engage the very person who kind of, not just the very person, but the very, your existing customers and all of the force behind that voice to come and say, okay, you tell us, what is it that you would like us, Myntra brand to be, as in the logo or any of that matter. And of course, then is the last part of the discussion, which is what are the ways that we can go about doing it? And that again is dependent on a lot of parameters. As an organization, how much money do I have to spend, and should I divert more monies in this direction because this is the fire on my company? So it's not a regular scenario; it is a different scenario. It's an emergency scenario. So how much monies do I have? What are the channels and mediums that I am on right now, and what more do I need to kind of explore? And I think some things that have worked across history, top examples are not coming to my head right now, but there are a lot of examples of companies just being honest and saying, you know what, we messed up. We messed up, and they put it up like a big half-page print article, and that goes to everybody. And the moment, like I think Nestle, they said we messed up. We're really sorry, and we are now dedicated towards the health of our customers. I think a few years ago there were worms found in Cadbury's, and Amitabh Bachchan, and they, as a brand, I think they did a fantastic job of mobilizing every aspect that they could, like get Mr. Bachchan to speak, get their brands to speak, change the packaging. That involves a lot of money. When you speak about changing packaging, that's huge cost that's involved in in a company. So it depends as a CEO, what all is it that is it as simple as just changing a logo? Is it as simple as just crowdsourcing and telling, okay, all of you people have a problem with this logo, so kindly just give some suggestions and we'll just pick up the best looking logo which resonates with our logo? Or is it much more than that, that, that whole packaging across all my boxes of Myntra that goes, and, everything that I need to invest in with my R&D team, with my product team, with my top management? Is my top management in line with what I'm, so it's actually a flow chart. When such a crisis hits a company, it's a flow chart of thought. And, which medium and what to do comes at the most bottom thing when the entire decision has been made. How to go about it is the last thing. Not to say it's not it is not significant, it's very significant, but that's probably the last part of your question. The first part of the question is to address if the concern is valid or not, and then how to go about it. So, this entire thought structure as a company, as a brand, needs to be made, and of course in tandem with all the stakeholders.
Thank you so much. So, like, be out there and own up to your mistakes. That's what you're saying, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that must have answered your question, Ankur, right? So we are done with the questions since we are running a little late, and all the other questions have been answered by Sameer sir and Manu sir in the Q&A session. So we'll move on to the vote of thanks, or rather, Yukti ma'am, do you want to conclude the session first?
Yeah, thank you, Roshni, for letting me or giving me this opportunity. So it's a bigger opportunity to conclude this discussion by deeply thanking all our esteemed panel members for their really excellent and insightful deliberations. So heartiest thank you. And I'm quite sure that all of us must have enjoyed the discussion, must have actually had a lot of things to take back. Lastly, I just want to trouble you by saying one last thing, that if you need to say one thing to our audience, young audience, our students, what will be the last takeaway from the session, what it would be? So we can start with Mr. Sameer Kapoor. One thing that you want to actually take our audience after the session.
Yeah, I think one thing that I would like the audience to take from the session and to the students is primarily try generating, one is like Dr. Anvita said, it is not about the final idea. It's not about the influencing, you can use various things. It is about generating those insights. For that, you need to understand how consumers behave, where do you get that data? And I'm not talking about the data that we just discussed, but how do you generate that insight? Because that insight will give you an idea of how to influence.
Very true. We researchers and all the practitioners knows the values of insight indeed. Right. So now coming to Mr. Bhaskar Majumdar. So would you like to just add on something? The last one word you want to just.
So, post-COVID era or during COVID era, I have understood one thing, that, one has to be very open and one has to adapt to new things, because there is no easy recipe or there is no perfect recipe for any kind of communication, be it corporate communication, be it marketing communication. With time and with changes around you, one has to be very adaptive and one has to be open to new ideas. I think that is the only thing which can help any marketer for their campaigns or thoughts.
Thank you so much. Now coming to Ms. Dr. Anvita, would you like just one word for our audience?
One word, I would say.
One sentence, you can extend it to.
One word, okay. That's one word, okay. No, I would say, go back as students, and as more than students, I think you guys are going to be the future marketers. I mean, not even like future, like next 1 year, 2 years. You guys are going to run the business now very soon. We're all old over here. What's important is, as when you guys enter the business realm, be it in the capacity of corporates or your own organizations or as consultants, whichever hat that you put on, it's important to always ask the most important question, the most basic question: what is it that we're trying to achieve over here? And don't make preconceived notions. Don't have a conclusion and kind of build your argument to support that conclusion. Case in point, today's discussion itself. Internet has become a giant advertising board that is suffocating its users. I think all four of us kind of went back and attacked that and really kind of questioned: is it really suffocating? Are we and who is suffocating and what is the amount of suffocation? So I think as leaders tomorrow, as business makers, don't start with the conclusion. I think that's something that I would and look at the big picture. Always look at all the parameters that kind of make or break a statement.
Very true. Don't start with preconceived notions and conclusions. Very rightly stated. Now coming to Mr. Manu Malhotra, what is one line? I know you must be having so many points altogether. Just one liner for our students.
Okay, I've just put in the chat pod also. I would say learning is the new oxygen. Landscape will keep changing. Data technology will keep changing. How you reach customers will keep changing. Your customers will keep changing. Their behavior will keep changing. As marketeers, it's very important, and as business enthusiasts, it's very important to learn. So I would leave you with that thought, and that encapsulates a lot of points that Dr. Anvita also shared. Right? Look at the holistic picture. If you understand what business you are in, what is the holistic picture, you will be a better marketer.
Thank you for a new hashtag over here. Thanks a lot. So lastly, I would like to extend my warmest thanks for investing your time with us on this Sunday morning. Thank you so much. All the ideas were very new and has given us a new perspective, have actually allowed us to go on a new direction. Now I would like to thank, I just want to hand it over to our two anchors, wonderful anchors, Vipasha and Roshni, for a vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So I'll just jump right into the vote of thanks. So firstly, I would like to thank our Honorable Director, Professor Atmanand, for his undying support, without which eSamvaad would not have been possible. Now, coming to our honorable speaker, it was indeed an honor to have you with us today, and we are indebted for the knowledge and the experiences you shared with us. So as a token of respect and gratitude, we would like to thank our respected guests with e-certificates. Now, I would like to say something about these e-certificates. Initially, we used to give bouquets to our speakers, but later on, we thought that Prayas, our social responsibility committee, came up with this initiative that given the pollution and the climate change, what we should be doing is that we plant a tree on the name of each speaker that comes up. And a certificate sort of signifies that, and you would be receiving these e-certificates via mail. We would be doing that immediately after this panel discussion is over. So this would be our contribution to the environment as well, and this would signify a lot more than a bouquet which will dry away after a week. So I hope you have also enjoyed this discussion, and you'll be receiving the certificates after this panel discussion is over. And I would like to thank Yukti ma'am, who has been who is also a coordinator for the PR and Media Committee, and who has been a wonderful moderator for this event. Also, Chetan sir, he's also a fellow coordinator for the PR and Media Committee. Thank you, both of you, ma'am and sir, for your undying support all throughout this journey. You helped us throughout the event. And big thanks to all the panelists and the attendees, our wonderful audience, for making this discussion so interactive and putting up such beautiful questions. And last but not the least, I would like to thank our entire team of PR Media Committee, from the poster making to the write-ups to the idea to the questions. The entire team has been working day and night behind it. So thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you to Vipasha.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye,
sir.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye bye.
Everybody, bye.